detective. Thrill me.
Thanks for joining us again. Happy Halloween to all and sundry. Gentlemen, Jared, Maddie, our first Halloween action film this time around.
Yep, mixing things up a little bit.
A little bit of something different, considering we usually do a slasher film or a Halloween movie or something of that nature. So this episode is 2014's The Guest. But before we get into that, Maddie,
it's been too long.
What have you been watching, mate? Because we haven't heard from you in a while.
Well, you haven't missed a lot. I've been investing too much time into my NFL fantasy teams, but there's, I guess, the most notable stuff that I've watched is Rillington Place, which is like a serial killer show. I sort of watched that and Des as well, but Rillington Place has Tim Roth in it, and he's awesome. He's so good and cold. It's really entertaining. Des as well is a really good watch. Short burst of a psychotic, which always is entertaining.
Is that David Tennant?
David Tennant, yeah. He's great. He's so good. The likeness is amazing. And you sit down and you're like, I'm going to watch one episode. You end up watching the whole thing in one go. Really, really good. I watched Rainmaker, The Rainmaker. I hadn't seen that in ages. Danny DeVito is hilarious. Like that guy's is perfect in everything that he does. The fact I would have loved to be in the conversation where he said, I'm going to become an actor. I would have loved to have been there. But yeah, enjoyed that. It was good. I hadn't seen it before, so I enjoyed that one. And in a moment of weakness, and probably just to try and get a reaction out of you boys, I watched Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider as well.
Oh,
great stuff.
Which I'm probably never ever going to see again, but it was worth a look.
Now, just quietly on Ghost Rider, wasn't Cage in both of them?
Yeah.
There was two of them, right?
Yeah.
And you watched the first one?
I watched the 12, I think it is, or 2012 one. Or 14 or somewhere there. Yeah.
Okay.
He cackles a lot.
Yeah. And he has a CGI six-pack, I believe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Does he?
Yeah. They CGI'd the six-pack on, saving Nick some trouble.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Nicholas
silly.
Was starting to get into some pretty dicey territory around 2014, I think.
Yeah.
His tax issues were forcing him into a difficult position.
Yes. They were forcing him to consider Christian films and all that sort of business. That's when he showed up in
Left Behind.
Left Behind. That's right.
Mm. Poor Nicholas.
Was that everything, Matty?
Yeah, that's me. Short and sharp.
Short and sharp, mate. Yeah. Good stuff.
I've spent too much time listening to the pod, guys.
I like that we're influencing your choices, though. That you see Nicolas Cage, Ghost Rider, and think, the boys will chat about this one.
There's after listening to the pod, though, I've got a gripe. Eddie Murphy, that's a banger. I'm going to put it out there.
Yeah.
No.
It's 2-on-1. No. You're wrong.
It is not a banger, mate.
If,
I can tell
if
you.
Weird Al Yankovic puts it in one of his poker medleys, it's all right. It's got to be good.
Yeah. Seagal just doesn't compare to that.
We did miss an absolute classic. One of our listeners hit us up with Sly Stallone singing fucking some shit out of Rhinestone called
Drunkenstein, wasn't it?
Drinkenstein.
Oh, man. Yeah, we'd sadly neglected that one.
I know. Not our best work. It was just horrendous.
Yeah, it was. Sly's probably lucky that we didn't chat about that one on the podcast.
he would have been on the bottom of the pack, I can tell you now.
By comparison, the Bacon Boys are bloody Lennon and McCartney, I think.
This comment might lose me some credibility as well. Didn't mind them either.
Yeah, that has lost your credibility.
What shred you had left is now gone.
the Bacon Brothers.
Oh man, the Bacon Boys. Matty, were you also disappointed they didn't call one of their albums a pound of bacon or a
There's so
slice of
many,
bacon? Or
so many opportunities there.
Yeah.
There's Rhines. I don't know what there's so many opportunities on. Oh yeah, definitely. We need some meat related titles in there.
Yeah, they got to go there. They got to do it.
Slice of Heaven. You know how happy that even.
Yeah, they should cover it and call it Slice of Bacon, Slice of Bacon. That would be classic.
It's more of a slice of hell.
I'm assuming Vin Diesel's number one in your heart too after Adam.
I don't want to have anything to do. That was so auto-tuned, that tune.
Yeah.
That sounds like some like 14-year-old's made it in his room.
Yeah. Oh
Look,
dear.
The bloke's voice did sound like one of the engines from the fucking cars in Fast and the Furious. But, mate, that one was catchy as hell.
You guys talked about
by
it.
it.
When you get to a point where you're so famous, you want to be known for something other than the fame. There's a disconnect in your circuitry. Like there's something wrong with him. I don't know why you would go down that road.
No. Well, when I heard the song, I thought, no, I know why you went down that road now. I love it. I love that road, Vic. Keep going there. Oh, dear.
All right, Jared, what have you been watching, mate?
All right, so I got onto a couple of docos early. I watched the full series of I'll Be Gone in the Dark, which was actually, it was really good. It was about Michelle McNamara, who was the crime writer that had a fair bit to do with solving the Golden State Killers case. It follows a sort of familiar path, but putting her in there actually gives it this different feel to it. That it's so it was so personal to her, and yeah, it was really, really sad in the end. They go through, I mean, they go to the lengths of playing Patton Oswalt's 911 call when he found her sort of, unconscious and whatever, and so it brings this whole other level to it. It's kind of personalises these people, including people that she sort of connected with to share info on the case. And so it's got this kind of this real touch of sadness, but then you get to see the victims all kind of coming together in sort of celebration after it happens. And yeah, it's a really, really good watch, actually. I was very impressed. I also started watching The Vow, which is I think it's HBO as well, about the NXIVM cult.
There's another one on Stan, by the way.
Oh, really?
Of the same thing, yeah.
I better check that out.
Called, I can't remember what it's called, but it's coming in week-to-week episodes.
Yeah, well, that's what the Vow's doing the same. And I listened to a podcast that had a lot of the same players, but the TV show is far better because they've kind of got access to all the videos from the programs and stuff. So you're getting a lot of the footage of like Alison Mack and that Keith Raniere character and whatever actually in the videos that they're putting forward. You're getting a lot of the behind the scenes, like videos from their programs and stuff. Yeah, it's very good. I also watched Class Action Park, Adam, which
Oh yeah,
that was the doco about Action Park in New Jersey, which was notoriously kind of fast and loose with fucking safety rules and had a number of people die at the park on slides and shit. So yeah, look, it alternated between hefty laughter at certain stories that were going on, and then just kind of like, these guys cost people their lives, literally, with cutting corners and shit like that. But it was a good watch. Yeah, it was a very good watch. Again, that was something that we'd kind of seen about on the periphery, read articles on particular websites about it and whatnot. So to see the doco come out was pretty good. Getting into the fiction fare that I watched, I checked out Vampires vs. the Bronx on Netflix.
Yeah.
What is that?
Look, it wasn't a bad idea. It was kind of like, it had a bit of a, that sort of rim of the world feel to it, Adam, where it was trying to capture those 80s movies about the group of kids, but it was very much representational, representing people in that area. So it had a lot of minorities in the cast, which was good, and gave it that sort of sense of realism to where it's actually coming from. But it just didn't pan out. It was similar. No. It was similar to Rim of the World, Adam, where I felt it sort of just it didn't hit in anything really. Like the ideas were okay, but then it just sort of it felt a little bit cheap, and it just kind of put the ideas out there, but never really nailed any of them. And by the end of it, I was just kind of left wishing that someone had have gone and revised it all before they actually did it, so we could have had it, because I felt like it was going for a sort of an attack the block sort of feel, but didn't land anywhere near attack the block. Didn't go anywhere near that sort of level of filmmaking, unfortunately. I'm ashamed to say I did watch Hubie Halloween.
As did I.
Yeah. I'm also ashamed to say I laughed a few times. A few more times than I suspected. Laughing at Adam Sandler's mum's T-shirts, which were pretty consistently amusing, you know, wearing T-shirts like with things like Boner Donor and what was your favourite, Adam? Muffs
Diving Club. I mean, it's low-hanging fruit, but I'll eat it.
Yeah, that's right. When you're hungry, it still tastes all right. And Tim Meadows, seeing Tim Meadows back in there playing off Maya Rudolph got me a number of laughs as well. So, yeah, look, I couldn't say it was a good movie, and that we've sort of spoken about this already, but that voice, I don't know why you have to carry that voice on for 100 minutes of a movie.
Which one does he do?
It's another kind of water
sounds
boy
like Bobby
style.
Boucher.
Yeah. It's a bit kind of like Bobby Boucher, but sort of, I don't know. It was just so annoying.
Mm. He's been doing that for 30 years, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's just like this one. I would have felt like, yeah, okay, you've put this out there. We've got a couple of laughs, and we'll get. But I don't understand the voice. I don't get what it adds to anything. Mm. But yeah, I'm not gonna hang too much on that. One of the best things that I watched and would highly recommend is I'm punching out the first season of Warrior, which is the Foxtel show that is based on Bruce Lee's pitch that got rejected, and then essentially they took elements and made Kung Fu, and then Bruce Lee didn't get the role for that. Shannon Lee's an executive producer, and I think Justin Lin was involved too, and they've taken that premise and sort of stretched it out, and I'm loving it because it's got that. It's definitely, you can see the character that Bruce Lee was going to play. So it's sort of like this guy arrives in San Francisco in, I think it's like the 1830s. So the Chinese are coming over on the boats and whatever, and then getting put into labour jobs and whatever. And then there's this real kind of simmering conflict with the Irish who feel like the Chinese are taking their jobs, and then the police are involved as well. And, you know, the character that Bruce Lee was going to be is sort of taken in by, he immediately gets into a blue off the boat, and then he's taken in by one of the Chinese crime gangs and essentially owned by them. And it's fucking good. It's got some really hefty sort of fight scenes in there, but it's taken on this kind of, you know, Game of Thrones sort of feel where there's all these sort of factions going against each other and people are stabbing each other in the back. And yeah, I'm about 5 episodes in, but I'm absolutely loving it at the moment. And the last one is obviously me and you, Adam, got to see Nightmare on Elm Street 2 on the big screen.
Yes,
which was quite a good experience. I mean, it was a out loud session where they encouraged kind of people to repeat their favourite lines and cheer and laugh and that sort of shit. There wasn't much of it, to be honest, but people were very open about laughing and a couple of cheers here and there at particular times. But I mean, seeing Clu Gulager's fucking performance on the big screen was just a sight to behold, Adam. So
he was bloody just golden. I mean, he had bipolar or something in that film, because every 5 seconds he's like, "Oh, geez, something must have gone wrong. You did it."
Yeah.
Pointing at his son.
I mean, when the bird is attacking everyone and then is engulfed in a fucking ball of flames, and he turns to his wife and says, "Oh, it's that bloody cheap seed you're feeding it." I lost it. I fucking lost it.
It's that cheap explosive seed.
Yeah, I'm just going to be cautious that I don't buy my puppy the bloody cheap dog food just so it doesn't fucking blow up into a ball of flames anytime soon.
Yeah, look, I enjoyed seeing part 2 on the big screen because, you know, the opportunities are now coming up. with COVID. We've also locked in tickets to see Jaws in a couple of weeks. So opportunities to see old films on the big screen is a huge deal now, I think.
Hope they put Lethal Weapon out.
Yeah. And
Fuck
you'd
yeah.
say,
You've got to get Lethal Weapon on the big screen.
yeah, you'd say Lethal Weapon's on. I'm not going to watch it. I'll skip that.
Yeah, I'll catch it later. I'll catch it when it comes out on DVD.
I'll catch it in another 10 years or so.
Was that everything,
that was
Jared?
it for me, mate.
All right. Well, I saw Elm Street 2 with you on the big screen. Loved it. I also saw Hubie Halloween. I'm a bit like you. It's certainly not the worst thing Sandler's put out.
No.
His Netflix output is probably one of his better ones.
Yeah, that's an indictment on what he's put out, but it is one of his
It's not
best
saying
ones.
a lot.
Yep.
But I'm with you. I mean, I don't understand the voice. I mean, he's kind of like the biggest loser in town, but does he need to sound like that?
Mm.
I don't really get it.
No, neither do I.
And I know it's more in his wheelhouse of, you know, kind of like the man-child sort of routine that he's been playing for years. But, I don't know, drop the voice and I probably would have been an extra star. So I went back to Shudder a fair bit this week, Jared. And I know we've been kicking the shit out of it by saying basically they never put anything on it. But I went back through my list and I watched a thriller called Downrange, which was for about 45 minutes was really tense. It was basically a group of people trapped out in a desert road where no one's around. They have a flat tyre, and then suddenly they're getting peppered with bullets from a sniper who's sitting in one of the trees. And for a while, it's really tense. It sort of reminded me a little bit of something like Phone Booth. But then it just goes absolutely overboard in the second half and turns into a really super violent, super stupid kind of situation. But look, it's worth a look, I think. I also watched a European kind of, I guess I'd call it a little bit of How the Hills Have Eyes sort of feel. It's called High Lane. And it's about this group of people who go rock climbing in Croatia, I think it is. And then they basically end up sort of, the bridge they're going across collapses, and so they can't go backwards. So as they have to go forward, they run into this mountain man up in the hills who's stalking them.
I think
Look.
I'd actually seen that and thought, should I watch this? So I'm interested to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, look, it's probably worth a look. It's worth a look. It's not brilliant, but it's certainly not terrible. Some of the sequences involving some of the rock climbing and stuff like that, and the location work is excellent. Like, some of it is really, it's obviously filmed on location. It's really kind of tense a couple of times where those things are happening. But the kind of the mountain man guy, when you finally see him, it's kind of like, is that him? You know, like, usually I expect my mountain men to be hulking Jason types. And this guy looks like, you know, he's my size.
Okay. So you're telling me you would survive in the mountains? You're not cut out for
I
it?
would not survive in the mountains. I would not survive in the mountains, I can tell you now. So, look, Jared, it's worth a look. Especially with Shudder only having a certain amount of content. Yeah, it's worth grabbing onto anything they've got there that we haven't seen. And I watched an interesting one, and this kind of had some really cool elements. She's a bit dry, but it's called the WNUF Halloween Special.
Yep.
And it's basically like a fake news cast from 1987 about this news team that's going into a haunted house where a sort of a, you know, Amityville horror style murder spree happened. And it's a mixture of the news followed by this 1 hour special. And it's got ads in it and shit. It's kind of like a mix of a found footage film and Grindhouse. And some of the stuff is quite amusing, some of the ads and stuff, but it's dry. It's really dry. I appreciate it for what they managed to get done. I mean, according to the Internet Movie Database, it cost $1,500 to make. And you wouldn't know it. if that's actually the truth, because it looks really, really good for what they've done. But yeah, it's I guess it's kind of a niche thing. You have a look at it and see what you think, but it kind of goes on too long. I would have thought maybe 45 minutes would have been a more appropriate time frame.
Right.
Sounds like a cool concept, though.
That also took my fancy, mainly because it was the most recently added thing that sat there for about a week before anything else was added as well. So I kept seeing the title and going, should I watch it? Because there's nothing else coming.
Yeah. Definitely worth having a look.
Okay, good to hear.
But it's certainly not a super exciting piece of work, and it to me the payoff isn't that great.
Okay.
I watched The Stepfather on Tubi. Mate, that movie's still gold.
Yeah.
I mean, Terry O'Quinn's performance is just fantastic. And it's a really nicely made thriller. So I'll be checking out The Stepfather 2, which is also on Tubi, a little bit further down the track. And last but not least, Jared, I jumped on a stand and watched American Ninja.
Didn't they have more than one?
It's not good. There's 4 of them on there.
Excellent.
But the first one is not great, fortunately. I mean, it's obviously a Canon picture, so it's got all those classic hallmarks of Canon. I mean, the way they shoot the fights, I mean, it's just, there isn't an ounce of kind of action to it, really. It's just so badly choreographed. It's just difficult to watch, I guess I'd say. But I will be on to part 2.
Well, I'm interested when you say, the first one's not good. Are you talking in comparison to the rest of the series? Are you expecting it to kind of move up from here? Or
I expect a drop off, which is not a good thing.
So the first one, was that the one that had Michael Dudikoff? He was in the first one? And he's in the second one too,
1, 2, and
right?
4 have got Dudikoff.
Yeah.
3's the odd man out.
Obviously, he didn't have any offers for RoboCop at the time to sort of
no, turned it
draw
down.
his attention away.
Yeah, look, it's not a good film, but I watched it first. The magic of Canon. There's a shitload of that on Stan, I noticed recently. There's just all the Death Wish films. There's bloody Delta Force.
Yeah.
So I'll probably give some of them a go.
Oh, they'll be on here. We'll be talking about them.
Oh, yeah. In the coming weeks. But that was me. That's everything. All right, let's take a break. And here's the trailer for 2014's The Guest.
Can I help you?
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes?
My name is David. Mrs. Peterson, I knew your son, Caleb. I was with him when he died. That's me.
You know Caleb?
Yes, ma'am. We were pretty close.
Yes, ma'am.
He wanted me to tell you that he loved you.
Thanks.
He asked me to check on y'all. And so, we're gonna be good friends.
What happened?
I got into a fight with some guys at school.
I'll teach him some self-defense when he's feeling up to it.
What are you gonna do?
Nothing bad. For the damages. Never let anyone pick on you. Here, you keep it. Miss Peterson, are you sure you're comfortable with me staying here?
I think it could be a good thing for us.
You know, I promised Caleb I would do anything I could to help your family. But
I'm afraid I haven't been fully honest with you.
I don't know know what I would have done if you hadn't been here.
Really, Mrs. Peterson, it's no problem.
The Guest from 2014. Directed by Adam Wingard, who directed You're Next. Produced by Jess Wu Calder, who produced Blair Witch, and Keith Calder, who produced All the Boys Love Mandy Lane. And it's written by Simon Barrett, who wrote Frankenfish. It stars Dan Stevens as David, Micah Munro as Anna Peterson, Brandon Meyer as Luke Peterson, and Sheila Kelly as Laura Peterson. The budget was $5 million. The box office was $2.7 million worldwide. And the original script was a more serious revenge story, which involved a soldier returning from war suffering from PTSD and putting together a complicated revenge plot against a family. Obviously, that was changed around once Wingard got involved, I believe. Now, Matty, what was your take on The Guest, mate?
I didn't mind it at all. A solid plot, very simple premise, but it was executed pretty well. Dan, who the main guy was, or David, the character, it was creepy as hell whenever he wanted to be, and the side actors were pretty funny. The dad's moustache alone was worth a star. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I don't know how keen I'd be to go back on it, but I was happy with the 4. I probably would watch that again without any problems. I was entertained.
Yes. Jared?
Yeah, I was very impressed with this one. I remember buying it sight unseen. I bought the Blu-ray because I'd heard such good things from the websites that kind of talk about the genre stuff that we're into. So, I jumped straight into it, and even then it still kind of held up to those expectations. This time around, I think I landed on a 3.5. As Matty said, it's pretty straightforward, but it's really well executed. The acting is just excellent for the most part, especially, Dan Stevens and Micah Munro, really good. And then, you get a couple of good performances from the people around them as well. But, it's just really well done. Some of the sequences where he's, getting into people are just, they really sell that he's a real fucking dangerous person.
Yeah.
And putting it in the Halloween season also kind of pays off towards the end. I thought the ending was, although I probably wanted a little more of the plot to come through it towards the end, the actual sequences at the end of the action were really satisfying and solid. So 3.5.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely agree. It's a really weird mix of like action, thriller, and almost like slasher film. But it kind of works really well. Dan Stevens is fantastic, and most of the other actors are really good. The action's choreographed really well, and there's a shitload of energy. Plus, there's this kind of like this gallows type of humour mixed into it from time to time, which I think also works. I'm a bit like you, Jared. Things are still a bit murky about who he was and what he was doing, in a sense of the military. And I believe you provided you mentioned to me in text earlier on today that they kind of deliberately did that to add some extra sort of things to it. So I kind of, now I get it, but also, I was kind of sitting there, especially one particular scene where the military guy's explaining what's going on, where I started laughing because he's selling it like Ric Flair, but it sounds so shit.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's a real winner, and I gave it 4. To get into the likes straight away, I mean, Dan Stevens is really, really good here.
He's awesome.
Yeah, he's great.
Just that he's got like charm and charisma, but he's also got something really off about him.
Yeah,
about the way he moves, and he kind of stares at people.
He does it different ways as well.
Grin.
He gets the creepiness in different ways. Sometimes he's just like staring angrily. Sometimes it's a pause in the conversation, like an awkward pause. Yeah. Sometimes he's having the conversation that doesn't quite make sense, like when he's talking with the mother and at the beginning of it, and then sometimes he just a sudden mood change. It's like multiple angles at making him a creep
Yeah.
But I really like that. He was like a
He also
complete weirdo.
he also lays on like that kind of overly charming. Like he's so nice and so charming that you're like, oh, should I trust him because he's really nice?
Yeah, he'll call you sir and then shoot you in the chest.
Yeah. But he switches from the charmer to the nutter just like so well. He's just outstanding.
I loved how he went at the end of it. You did the right thing. I don't blame you. Like the relationship that he builds with the son is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like even in that moment where he's dying, he's stabbed in the chest. I loved it. I really loved that.
And he also they kind of do it to the audience too, because you kind of immediately know that he's not quite right, but then you see him in the photo and things like that.
Yeah.
So you kind of like, oh, okay, well, we'll give him a little bit of trust as an audience, knowing that he's a little bit off.
Yeah.
So you kind of like you sort of feed into it as well.
Well, it's interesting because I thought it was going to go a totally different way. Like, I thought he was a bit off, but I thought it was going to be him against the military because they were after him because of something else. But then, obviously, they just throw in a sequence where he decides to take out a couple of gun dealers.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, right.
Yeah, where's he
So
going?
he's actually a bastard.
And Adam,
so-
one of those gun dealers was, of course, our favourite
Ethan Embry.
I was expecting, I was expecting someone from the party to roll out and start talking about dancing at the sock hop and all this sort of stuff.
I was a bit worried when he banged the schoolgirl.
Yeah, that was all.
Well, she was 20.
Yeah, they were.
Oh, they were 20, weren't they?
they were.
Yeah, they were 20. They kept saying it about how she turns 21 in a few months.
Yeah.
I think it also, from a casting perspective, it was a good choice because his previous most recognisable role was in Downton Abbey. So it wasn't a role you would have expected from him.
Yeah.
No.
If you know what I mean. So I think that kind of worked in his favour.
A perfect gentleman.
I dug on the music too.
Oh, yeah.
It was kind of a weird mix of almost like bit of John Carpenter mixed with kind of like techno.
Yeah. And then a couple of, sort of cheesy 80s pop sort of tunes layered over the top as well.
Yeah.
When he stabs the mum, and then you hear, because I love you. I lost it. I thought that was so funny.
Yeah.
Or that when he rocks into the diner and shoots Kirsten or whatever, and then just chucks a couple of grenades in, and as he's walking in calmly out, it's got some sort of fucking Boys to Men style song going off, and then boom.
Yeah.
That stuff was great.
There was some
really,
good
really
beauty.
well
Yeah.
done. But the music reminded me of John Carpenter a little bit.
The synthesizer in the school at the end was great.
Yeah. Because, he puts on his CD.
Yeah, that was a nice little touch.
Yeah.
Just in general, I think the music feeds into, it's just a stylishness to the whole thing. Obviously the way he acts, the performance, the way that the Halloween kind of look to the end of the film, the score, Micah Munro's kind of Sarah Connor sort of aesthetic, how she's kind of in the waitress outfit for large portions of the film. So there's obvious nods to the Terminator as well. Yeah, it was just really stylishly done all the way through.
Agreed. And as I said before, it was mixing genres a little bit.
Yeah.
But doing it quite well. Because, yes, there was the action beats like something like the Terminator. And then there was a couple of shootouts and everything like that. The thriller stuff was, the mysterious guy that we don't know much about. And then we're throwing in the slasher movie element. He's knocking people off.
Yeah, and then obviously the end.
I think
the end part as well. The end sequence was very slashery. Inspired.
Yeah, and it's kind of, you don't usually get that mixture and make it work. And I think they've done a fantastic job making that work. My favourite scene in the movie was him picking Luke up from school and then following the bullies to the bar
Yeah. Outstanding.
and just fucking dishing out a hiding.
Yeah.
Absolute hiding.
Yep.
It's like he knew that it was like, these jocks are going to definitely put a drink in my face. I'm going to have one prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just love the fact that it's not a long, drawn-out punch-up. It's over in about 30 seconds.
Yeah. And then he uses
And he
his
just
Jedi
takes
mind
the
trick on the
ball.
bar owner to shut him up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just like that whole scene. Obviously, you know, him dishing out the hiding to the football team was like, yeah, the guy's dangerous. But then the way that he, as Maddie said, he sort of throughout, he kind of plans the whole thing from start to finish and has the story prepared and has the drink with the bloody
Chili.
the chili in it to throw in the face. And he drops a couple of lines in there, even before he, you know, talks the barman around to what he's going to talk about. He drops the line about cash is easy to get. And
Yeah.
you automatically think, why? Like you're thinking Hitman or something like that. He's you know, cash is
It
easy
adds
to
a
get.
layer to him,
Yeah,
yeah.
you sort of.
He's got different motivation to everybody else in the room.
Yeah, and it gives you this. It starts your mind going onto where is this guy? What like? He's very dangerous, but he's earning money off his abilities. So he's got to be, you know, in some sort of field like that. And so it just continues your ticking onto where's this guy going. But yeah,
It's the
I agree. I
first
thought it was a
real
great scene.
twist into him becoming a really dark guy. Even like, you can come into the bar if you want, but I'm going in to sort these guys out.
Yeah,
Like, it doesn't even care. Like, he's got his agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. And it feeds into also that whole idea of that relationship developing. You got to have your confidence, but he's taking advice from the madman. Like,
yeah.
does your life ever get better when you listen to the crazy person? Like, I
Yeah,
like that.
exactly.
But he snaps that leg. That guy's leg getting snapped on the
Yeah.
kick.
Nasty.
Oh!
No. The best one was the pussy guy who lunges at him with a really sort of soft punch, and he just steps out of the way and then just goes crack. He gives him one right in the bush.
Yeah.
Knocks him cold.
Yeah.
But I also love the way he delivers that line where the bloke says, do you want to send some drinks overs for their fellas? And he just kind of looks up at him like, and then just says in this cold kind of voice, you know, do I look like someone who wants to send drinks over for their fellas?
Mm.
And the barman's just like, okay.
Yeah.
That was fun.
but I think it was a wise move too, and obviously a calculated move for him to just wipe the floor with them too, because it was just sort of like it immediately set the tone, almost like John Wick, you know, that this guy is just a fucking animal. Like, you do not want to be on the wrong side of him. There was no kind of, they laid a hit on him. It was like that they were never close.
Yeah.
He just fucking flogged them.
It's nice comeuppance.
Yeah, and it was really well choreographed too. It was quick, sharp. Had some of those cool sort of moves where he'd throw someone away and then he'd turn around, the camera would kind of zoom in on him.
Mm. A little side note question. Do all jocks in America pick on a nerd and then once they slam him into the locker, have some weaker little dude yell something awkward into his ear afterwards?
Or walk up to him and go, and then kind of leave.
Make him flinch.
Yeah.
There's always like some lesser football player who's hanging around the tough one.
The guy on the bench. The bench guys will one walking up going, take that.
I need to know. I got to go to America to observe this. I don't know.
Yeah. We'll do a social experiment and send you back to high school in America. I'd pay to watch that. That'd be good.
I'd fit right in.
I also love that sequence where that dude starts some shit at the party.
Yeah.
And he just fucking bangs his head into the wall.
Oh, that was awesome.
Sorry about the picture.
Swiftly deals with him and then tells the other guys, get him out of here. That was just awesome.
Her swooning over him after that as well was classic.
Yeah.
Yeah. The kind of what I liked about the way they shot that whole scene is as soon as he walks in with a keg of beer on one shoulder and a keg in the other hand, and the music kind of swells like every woman in the room's going, check this guy out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like a hero, but not really in that moment.
And that was the interesting dynamic they were going for, which I liked. Yes, he was a bit off. Yes, there was something there, but for that first 40 minutes, as he dispatches some of these fuckwits, you're kind of like, he's kind of heroic.
Well, you still sort of trust him, right? You still, you give him the benefit of the doubt. I mean, that party sequence, as you said, he's doing things where you're like, he's the good guy, but then he uses the phone. He uses his phone or says to the guy, he's got a phone, I'm using a burner at the party scene, when you know he's already told the mum, I don't have a phone. And so you kind of like, oh, so you start to get these little seeds of doubt, but his actions are otherwise. But then again,
and he says to him, doesn't he say to he obviously starts organising a gun.
Yeah, that's right.
That guy.
And I also love that the party scene continues to establish this through line that he can put away piss and drugs like they're nothing.
It's like Rick James.
Yeah, he's just he's smoking whatever they're giving him, and then I mean the bit where I laughed the most in the movie was before this, where the dad is fucking blowing up at the mum for letting him in the house and like, yeah, we don't even know this guy. And then he's kind of like, hey, I'm going to have a beer. You want a beer? And then, they cut to him sitting on the couch spilling his guts going, this guy's got 4 years of college, so he's got my job. And then he
starts pouring his heart out.
Yeah, starts pouring his heart out. And then you see him kind of stand up and he's like, you can really put it away. You want another one? I just love that. That's where you were talking about that kind of black humour that was going on, Adam. That was just so funny.
I like that. I'm back on that point where you were saying that you're not sure whether he's a good guy or a bad guy. That whole thing, they're establishing a lot of that. But at the end, he pretty much doesn't kill the kid and escapes in the fire costume. Like, who's to say he doesn't just pull the butterfly knife out and just kill them both?
Yeah, well, it's sort of...
It's a weird relationship that he's got with that kid.
Well, I've got a bit to say about that in my dislikes because it ties into what I wanted from the plot. But yeah, it's sort of... I really did like the relationship they established. And I kind of... I get what they were doing with the, his whole... The only motive he really had was to tie up the loose ends. So you get to the end of the movie and I still kind of wanted to believe, and I think this is because of the success of the movie and the success of Dan Stevens, is I still wanted to believe when he leaves in the fireman's uniform that he did that on purpose because now they thought he was dead, so he didn't have to tie up those loose ends.
Yeah.
And he didn't really want to the whole way through. So... yeah, I don't know. That was a really interesting kind of thing that I'm still sort of working over in my brain about what what he was trying to do.
Well, the relationship with the kid is it's drip fed out for a while, but then it really takes a turn when the kid basically says to him, tells him what Anna is thinking, and then essentially just goes, "You killed Dad's boss, didn't you?"
Yeah,
and he's like, "Don't worry, I'm not going to tell anyone."
Yeah.
It's like the son's now become a cold...
Well, he got his confidence, didn't he?
A cold sort of person as well,
That moment where
I thought that was interesting.
The moment where he snaps the bully in the face, you're just like, that kid's life has changed forever.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then to have the interview to get out of the detention, to get out with just a little bit of detention is...
I love that sequence, especially where he comes in and he goes, "What happened?" And he goes, "I hit him over the face with a yardstick." And Dan Stevens smiles and goes, "Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah. Just fucking turns around and goes into the office.
Yeah. Yeah, that was an excellent sequence. I love the way that he just starts talking about it's a hate crime and you see the principal's sphincter just tighten. He just keeps...
He's like, "Yeah, we're suing you."
When this becomes a national story.
Yeah, he keeps fucking bargaining him down. Yeah, that was awesome. I love that.
Yeah, I thought that was a really, really solid... again, it was showcasing that this guy he's cold, he's calculated, he knows what to say to get out of these things. And he does it so well that people just cave to his.
Yeah. And the
his
kicker
request.
is, the principal's been bargained down, and then he kind of just looks at him and goes, "Who are you?"
I'm a friend of the
I'm
family.
a friend of the family.
Yeah, piss funny.
I like the fact that it does kind of pivot. Like, that's where things really change, is where she rings the military.
Yeah.
And everyone just goes into fucking sphincter tightening mode. Shit. This guy, bloody hell, we better start getting, and they start interrupting major colonels and stuff in the middle of meetings to tell them what's going on. And, and so you kind of get the sense, okay, something's not right here. But then he kind of bargains his way out of that too.
Yeah.
Remember when he sort of goes, look, I was in the Special Forces and not allowed to talk about it.
Yeah. They're doing
it's a
me.
cover story.
They're doing the right thing by not talking about me. Yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of still, again, I knew that something was up, but I still was like, well, he could still be the good guy.
Yeah, well, let's hear both sides before we.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
what he's got to say.
mate, I was like the dad. As an audience member, I was the father of the family. Kind of like, who is this guy? Why is he in their house? And then 10 minutes later, I'm like, well, we got to hear him out,
When the military finally turn up, like, that shit is awesome.
Yeah.
And the gunfight just happens in the house, and
Yeah.
shit is flying left, right, and centre, and he's taking people out, but he still has time to kill Mum.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Heart to
I know.
heart with her.
Yep. I also love that, they talk about the sort of the Halloween influence. I mean, Adam Wingard has mentioned that, but you can kind of see it in that scene, how, like, the sheets on the line. I just love that shot of the sheet kind of blowing away, and here's him holding
And
the
he's
washing
standing behind
basket.
it.
And then just pulls out the little handgun and dispatches like 2 or 3 of them before they can lift their
guns up.
weapons. And
Yeah.
being that I do love both The Wire and John Wick, I was obviously very happy to see Lance Reddick
Yeah,
leading that
absolutely.
team.
Yeah.
So,
He's got a way about him, doesn't he?
he does.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He's got a really super awesome voice.
Yeah.
And just I don't know what it is. His chin's always pointed down.
Yeah.
It's-
It is, isn't it? It's cool.
I don't know.
I mentioned the diner explosion, which I thought was also pretty cool. And that's where you kind of get Terminator vibes with him,
Yeah.
because he's been shot repeatedly,
Yep.
but he just kind of walks it off.
Yeah, and you get that kind of he asks where Anna is, and when she's not there, he just fucking blows the place up, and it's kind of, you get that.
Puts the bullet through her first.
Yeah, Anna's still wearing that Sarah Connor-esque waitress uniform, and that kind of scene reminds you of Arnie looking around at Sarah Connor and just, destroying anyone in his path to get to Sarah Connor. Yeah, I dug that. It was good.
For me, one of my favourite likes, and one of my last ones here, was the showdown at the school. And just the Halloween kind of maze that kind of throws in a few little kind of, they're going past at one stage, they're going down the hallway, and next thing you know, there's something bangs on the wall, and he's like, shit.
It was an inspired choice.
It was a great excuse to have
the
a mist
mirrors.
machine in the building.
Yeah, the mist
Yeah.
machine. I loved when he gets knocked to the floor and the kind of mist just sort of engulfs him and then splits apart and he's not there.
You're left with a pair of shoes. That created some tension. It was great.
Yeah.
You're like, what are you doing? Don't walk into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great.
That stuff was really, really well played out.
Mm.
And it was a
That
nice way
final
to
scene,
end it.
that final part where you think it's going to be the last time you see him, and he's lying dead with the butterfly knife in him, and they've got the rip tombstone.
Yeah.
It looks so good.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is the end for him. So it's kind of nice when you get the twist at the end.
Yeah.
I like that. I
I
that a lot.
even liked the twist at the end.
Mm.
Where you
Yeah.
see him
Her reaction to the twist was awesome.
she's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was
Well,
perfect.
number one, I'm still holding out for a sequel because I really liked it. But number 2, having seen it a couple of times now, I understand why they decided to chop that backstory out, because I watch it and I still kind of come out with this feeling that, he didn't want to kill them. He did actually develop those relationships genuinely, and I still don't know the reason why he did that, but he was in the photo with the brother, even though they bring up the plastic surgery angle. I'm like, could they really do that much plastic surgery to make him look so much like, and why is
This
he
sort
doing...
of goes into the dislikes, right?
Well, he's sort of like, it's going, why? Yeah, it is. It sort of splits in the dislikes and the likes, because I'm looking at why did he go to that family? If he did get the plastic surgery, why was it going to that family? Was the brother involved in the program anyway? Like, there's all these questions, but I come out of it looking at it with this feeling of, I don't know whether he did or he didn't want to do it, but I'm making my own decisions on that.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of like, after a couple of times viewing it, I'm sort of like, I think Adam Wingard did make the right choice to cut some of that out and keep me
You
thinking
don't
about
know.
it.
You don't know at the point when you're watching it from beginning to end that the relationship is going to change into what it does.
Yeah.
So you're not concerned with it when you're watching it. But when you sit back and you think about it or you re-watch it, it's pretty obvious that it sort of doesn't quite make sense or flow there.
Yeah. And I think from what I can gather, there was issues with test audiences with some of the backstory. But then Adam Wingard also wanted to cut some because he felt like if he did, it turned the character into... He sort of felt like it was like Michael Myers and the Terminator sort of mashed up together. But if they were in your house and you knew them and like... And I see that, I see where he was going for, and I'm still sort of torn whether he made the right choice or where he didn't, because I still do want more of the backstory. But then in other parts, I'm like, if I got the backstory and it sucked, I wouldn't come out with this. I wouldn't come out of the movie continually thinking about it and constructing some of that story in my head for myself. So would it have been as enjoyable in that sense?
I get that too, and for me, I mean, I haven't got any other likes. I don't know about you guys.
Or I've got one semi-like. Where he's talking with the kid about the trigonometry, and he just goes, "You're a pretty smart kid, huh?" Because he got a Sakatoa question right. That was that was my favourite. As a maths teacher, enjoyed it.
Well, I was on the other side. Where I'm just holding the fucking the little what do you call it?
Set square.
It was a set square or something like that. He's holding onto one of those bits and just looking at it like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with this.
Yeah. The kid even says to him, doesn't he? So you get what I mean? He's like, nah.
That cracked me up.
Yeah. Dan Stevens made it cool to be dumb in that sequence.
Yeah. So I haven't got any other likes, and as far as dislikes go, mine are very minor.
Yeah.
Very minor.
Yep.
It slows a little after the opening 20-odd minutes where he dishes out a little bit of a hiding and we get a sense of him. The movie does slow a touch in the middle section there, but it's not greatly important because I think that it's kind of helped by the fact that those sequences where he kind of barters people down and he kind of shows off his abilities to kind of like talk people into things. So it didn't hurt it too bad. But my biggest dislike was a little bit like what you were saying, Jared, and that is that his motivations are still muddy to me. And the sequence where Lance Reddick is explaining to Michael Munro in the car what he was in the program. And I love Lance Reddick's voice, and he's really giving it weight and gravitas, but he says to her, he was part of some medical experiments. I just started laughing because I was like, that can't be.
He looks a bit like Captain America.
Yeah. We injected him with David Boone's DNA so he can drink piss and not even fucking feel it. He can drink 56 cans on a flight between Australia and England.
Yeah, we removed a small amount of Boone DNA and gave it. Yeah, the reason why I laughed is because he was selling it the right way, which was to try and sell it as being serious. But it just, the sound of, he was involved in some medical experiments. I was just like, It struck me as a little bit of Jason Bourne.
Yeah, definitely.
It had a Jason Bourne feel to it.
Yep.
So for me, his backstory was smirky, and it just kind of, although I feel it kind of worked in some ways, it also didn't work in a sense that I was kind of sitting there going, "Tell me what he's doing. Why is he here?"
Well, so that's the
what
biggest
was he
one for
involved in?
me. Is, as I said, I definitely think there are parts to the mysteriousness that do work and leaving us hanging, but the biggest one for me is, why is he with the family?
Yeah. He spends all
My
his time
understanding
fixing
is
their problems.
Yeah, my understanding is he's not the guy in the photo, but he's had plastic surgery to look like the guy in the photo. But so why is he with the family? Is he just there to cover up for a couple of days?
You're assuming from the line before when he kills the mother, you're assuming he still knows their son.
Yeah, that's right. And
But we
felt
don't know
like-
where that connection is.
And I still felt like, even by the end of the movie, I felt like if she doesn't make the call and establish that he's not who he says he is, they survive. He stays for a couple of days, punches some high school heads,
Yeah.
and moves on. So I'm not sure. I'm still not sure about that, but I feel like that was the one key point that was missing. That they sort of did need to establish. Yes, he did know the son, or no, he didn't.
Yeah.
But it always felt like throughout that yes, he did. Even though there's that thing that seems to establish that when the brother spills the beans, he says, you know, you'd structure your bones. Oh, sorry, he'd mess with your bone structure to make you look like
Fingerprints,
someone else. And I'm kind of like, so that to me is saying he's not the dude in the photo. He's made to look like the dude in the photo who is actually dead. And I'm sort of like,
and he's
so-
got his tags as well.
Yeah.
So he's killed the guy in the photo.
yeah, but then I'm like, but it still seems like you know the family, and I'm still feeling like if she didn't call up, you would have let them live because they didn't know that was your identity. You would have moved on, and they wouldn't have been able to establish it. Or, like,
It's a bit hard.
I could be wrong.
He kills the guy's boss so that he can get a promotion and make things right with his wife.
Yeah,
But then kills the guy himself.
Yeah.
For no real particular reason.
And he sorts the kid's high school troubles out, sort of gives him, but then kills his parents.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, so you fixed this problem, but then you created a fucking
A kind of
massive
bigger one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It just felt like
Lance
she
Reddick
didn't
does
make
say, doesn't he?
Well,
it's the same thing. Why does he go back to the school to kill a kid and then lets him live and escapes?
yeah. It just seems
Confusing.
it's you know, Lance Reddick's the big thing that I took from the Lance Reddick stuff was he said he's programmed essentially to tie up loose ends. If he knows that you
so
know.
basically,
But
as soon as they found out some information about him, that's him deciding, well, loose ends now need to be tied up.
So it makes me think if she doesn't make that call for a week after he leaves town, which I'm assuming he would have if they didn't become loose ends, does he come back to town and kill him, or does he just kind of continue on his part? I can't help but finish the movie and feel like, yeah, he would have left them if she didn't establish that he wasn't who he said he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So,
It would
which
seem that
which
way
makes me
because-
question. Yeah, but that's where I need a little bit of clarification on. I felt it would have probably worked better just to say, yeah, he was the dude in that unit, but your brother was in that program too, or something.
Yeah,
and we
that's right.
killed them all, because then that almost gives him the reason. That I don't know. It seems like that might have been what it was initially when they talked about how it was kind of a revenge.
The brother's
thing.
still alive and he's got his face
Or
faced
something
off
like
as
that.
well. He's been face offed as well, and he's after him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It feels like
that
like
was
maybe
what I
that was
thought
what
was
it
going
was.
to happen, Jared.
Well, it feels like that's what it was initially. That he was in the program with the brother. The brother was killed. He goes to the family, and then the government comes to kill him too because he's the one that escaped.
Yeah.
But then in somewhere along the line, it just got turned into, he's kind of Michael Myers / Terminator killing everybody else. So it still feels like, there's that what you mentioned in there, and we kind of could have done with a little bit of clarification around that to sort of get to where we ended up.
Yeah, because I felt that's where I got the strong Bourne vibes. During that period where I felt that obviously him and the brother were in the same program and the military was killing assets from the program.
Yeah.
The brother was one of them.
Yeah,
He was-
something didn't
he was
turn
one
out
of them.
right. Yep.
Yeah. And that's where I was getting, the whole Bourne, Treadstone sort of vibes that they sort of had. It just needed a little touch of clarification, not too much, because I agree you leave the ambiguity of what he was. You keep that there, because a lot of that worked. But you just needed to clarify why he was there.
Why was with that
Why was he with the family?
Yeah.
Yes. Because that makes no sense at all. When you're looking at it in the cold light of day, there is no reasoning for why he would be there.
Yeah.
Dependent upon the fact that we think that he got plastic surgery. He's not the guy in the photo, but he's looking like him because that guy's dead. So why is he hanging around this family? Why does he want to ingratiate himself in their life?
That's right.
What's the reason?
And it seems like, when he's saying, I'm just moving through town, it seems like the whole time he's angling for that couple of extra days to stay there and to sort of get involved. So, yeah, it's a little, I think the unclearness around that in particular is the big issue for me.
Unless he was the brother and then
it
had his face changed.
It could still be. And then he just,
lost the plot because of what the military did.
I know it's your mum, but I've been programmed to tie up loose ends, so I'm going to kill you anyway.
Yeah. In a way, a sequel could be detrimental.
Yeah, it could be. But I still want it
because
I just need
start having to dig in.
Somebody needs to throw the cash at Dan Stevens and get him back in this actiony type role. He was just so good in there. I just want to see more of it.
Exactly. I didn't have any other dislikes. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I had a couple, just minor ones.
Yeah.
Number one is him arousing suspicion by chatting on the phone outside the kitchen window.
Yeah.
We could have found a better place to make that kind of phone call if you're trying to keep it under wraps. The brother getting... I get the sort of, that he was lacking connection with anybody, and there was a bit of this sort of hero worship after he kind of deals with his antagonists. But just sort of spilling the beans just felt a little bit like it's a big leap. And as you said, Matty, he even mentions, you killed Dad's boss. I don't care. I'm not going to tell anyone.
Yep.
I just felt like that was just a little bit too far. I felt like maybe David could have leaned on him a little to get the info. He could have volunteered a little bit of it, but then David could have leaned on him to get a little bit more or something. Other than that, it was just in the ending sequence in the dance. I could have done with maybe just a touch longer. I felt like it did wrap up a little bit quickly in some aspects, specifically Lance Reddick's character. I thought when it came down to him and Dan Stevens, we might have got just a touch more, because when he gets dealt with so swiftly...
You've been spoilt with exposition for days in every single other action movie you've seen. You needed more.
Yeah, I needed a bit more. I wanted more. But even like Lance Reddick being there, I felt like, okay, so this is the boss. I still expected Dan Stevens to deal with him, but I thought this might be the one guy who can land a punch on him or get a bit of a tussle.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting.
And so when he gets...
actual biffo.
Yeah, when he gets dealt with really easily, I felt like, so essentially it turned Lance Reddick's character into the guy that just turns up and says, yeah, he's dangerous and he's part of a medical experiment. And that's it. That's all he was there for.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit disappointed that we didn't get, Lance didn't get to tussle a little bit.
Yeah. I think that would have been actually good, and I was expecting that.
Yeah, definitely.
Again, maybe they were playing with conventions too.
Yeah.
I was a bit disappointed when the brothers, they've spent all this time building him up to, he's got all this confidence, he can take care of himself now, and then his sister tells him to hide in a corner, and he does it. I thought that was a bit weak.
Yeah.
That really took away from it. That along, especially when you know that he's got this knife that he's going to come back into it at some point.
Yeah.
It was a bit telegraphed.
It was a little bit telegraphed, but I did think that was a nice touch, and I did, as you said, it set up the bit where he's like, you did the right thing. Like, that was a really good.
That was one of my favourite parts of the movie. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
But
nice way to go out, sort of thing.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, though, I think that a lot of the problems with it, you have to sit and think about it afterwards. But when you're in the moment, it's a really solid action thriller, and I really enjoyed the whole thing. The bits of comedy in there keep me going, and there wasn't really many lulls in it, so I was pretty happy overall.
Yeah, me too. Is that everything?
Yeah, that's it for me.
Yeah, happy with that.
That is The Guest from 2014. You can find us on Podomatic, iTunes and Spotify. Send us an email at thrillme@iinet.net.au. Like us on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia and at Podomatic at thrillme.podomatic.com. Please rate and review us if you can. And we're also on Instagram at Thrill Me Podcast AU. Keep an eye on the Facebook page for our details of our next film. Happy Halloween to everybody. I hope you enjoy yourself today. And until next time, take it easy and we'll catch up with everyone later. Cheers. Find the podcast at Podomatic or on iTunes. Don't forget to rate and review. Like us on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia or contact us at thrillme, all one word, all lowercase, at iinet.net.au.